They took something from me. No, they stole something from me, piece by piece, inch by inch, and while they were stealing those pieces from me, summers after summers, I kept asking myself, what could I possibly have that could take this long to steal? But only when they were done and gone did I realize what they took, what they stole. They took me. They took all of me. They hollowed out my belly, carved out my heart until I had nothing left, and I had nothing left. But I didn't want to be left with nothing, so I followed the thieves, chased down every trail they left behind, but every trail they left behind led me to that one cliff. The cliff I came to call the Choice. The Choice had an ocean at its feet and overlooked a city far away. I named the ocean the Breaking, and I named the city Lost and Found. The moment I set foot on the Choice, I knew I had a decision to make. I could either take the fall, land into the Breaking, okay, swim to the city maybe, or I could go back, erase my footsteps from theirs and disappear. At the Choice, I knew I had a decision to make, but I couldn't make it. I didn't make it until I saw her. Her, the star of this story. I wish I knew a word that could describe who she was. Not a friend, but a friend. Not an enemy, but an enemy. Not a savior, but a savior. Her pain crashed into my life like a meteor falls into the ground of the earth. Pain crashed into my life without asking for permission. Pain made me fall in love with her without asking for permission. Pain made promises of never letting go without asking for permission. So how could I not love her? How could I not trust her when she was the only one who held my hand at the Choice, when she was the only one who whispered in my ear, "We'll find what you're looking for together. It's you and me." And so I let pain have her way with me. I let her caress my fears, jump with me. "We'll figure out the rest," she said, luring me to the edge of the Choice, and so I did. I never asked her why she looked so familiar, why her touch felt so known, but I let my foot slip off the cliff with her, and I let her make me want to take the fall. The fall was frightening. I couldn't scream, I couldn't move, couldn't pray. I was falling and only falling, but she made it better somehow. The water we landed in was cold, so cold, but she held me close and sang me to sleep as she carried me to the shore of Lost and Found. And I remember thinking that how could anyone ever be so selfless? How could anyone ever forsake their life to save someone else's? "I don't deserve you, pain," I said, as quietly as I could so she couldn't hear me. Shortly after, we stepped into the heartland of Lost and Found. Even in that moment, far away from the Choice, drenched in the Breaking, standing under the sun, I never asked her why she looked so familiar, why her touch felt so known, but pain smiled. "Take my hand," she said. I did. Then together we set forth on our quest to find those pieces, to find me. Did you see anybody with some pieces?" I asked the first stranger I saw in Lost and Found, breathlessly, desperately, but the stranger looked at me like I was crazy. So I said again, "Did you see anybody who carried a heart, bones, sweat, compassion, memories in their bare hands?" The stranger never said a word to me. The stranger only looked at pain in their own chest and walked away, and so did all the others I asked the question to. Every soul in Lost and Found looked at pain the same way I did, but even then I never asked her why she looked so familiar to everybody, why her touch felt so known. "Don't you remember anything about the thieves?" Pain asked. "I do, of course I do, I don't. It's been so long, but I don't want to find the thieves anyway. I just want the pieces back," I cried. "Well, if we can't find you your pieces, we can surely find you some things else that might fit," she said. "Substitutes, you mean?" I asked, and Pain nodded, giggling like a child, but she had me twirled voluntarily around her fingers, and so we walked into countless farmers' markets, graveyards, birthdays, trying to find spare parts that might fit, but nothing did. "Well, if we can't find you any usable spare parts, we could surely steal some." Pain winked when he screamed at the preposterousness of the suggestion. "It's the way of the world, honey," Pain said, caressing my hair, and so I did what she told me to do once again. That's the beauty of being wrapped around someone's thumb. I ventured to steal pieces. I never could manage to steal the good ones, so instead I stole nightmares and promises and goodbyes from everybody and anybody who would let me, and I tried to fit them in my soul, wedged them shut between two open wounds, but nothing worked. My feet were blisters, my palms were rejection. When I finally fumbled pain, I think I'm done. Pain threw her head back, laughing at that. Not so soon, my love. She kissed my cheek. But even then, I never asked her why she looked so familiar, why her touch felt so known. I was so angry. I screamed at her one more time, Pain, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm so done. And that is when it happened. Pain sprung around on her feet, lunged towards me with all her force. It didn't stop until I felt her breaths on my chin. Her breaths, they tasted like a friend's, but I knew I'd been fooled because I recognized that taste. Her breaths were what my mother said mine once tasted like. They were my breaths. Pain was one of them. She was one of the thieves. Pain took something from me, and when I confronted her, when I called her thief, betrayer, liar, murderer, she kissed me on the mouth, her grip golden from victory, her nails dug into my spine, and I didn't stop her. See, a castaway could never reject company. She enticed me in, and I crawled into her lap. Pain tricked me for the last time when she broke the kiss in a second, pulled up her nails up to my throat, and dragged me head first across Lost and Found. Where are you taking me? I screamed, helpless inside her hold. Help, 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 please help. I shouted. Not a soul helped me. Not a soul heard me ask for it. And within months, there we were again, at the shore of Lost and Found. Pain never said a word when she swung my body into her arms and carried me gently into the breaking. The breaking, help, 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 I pray. This is where it all began. This is where it all ends. I heard Pain promise. And before I knew it, Pain plunged my head underwater, and I fought. I fought for my life, but she was strong. She was so much stronger, and a part of me wanted her to win anyway, so I gave up. But Pain couldn't stand the fact that I was giving up, so she twisted my body inside the breaking, thrusted my spine into the bed of the ocean, and made me watch the surface from rock bottom. And I watched the surface from rock bottom, a child seeing a dream. She was ruthless. Pain never let me close my eyes, but she buried my ribs in the wet sand, held my throat under her thumbs until my neck caught on fire in the breaking, until my knees begged to break in the breaking. She was ruthless. As the last of my breath spiraled out of my mouth as bubbles, Pain cried and said, Everything I've ever done, I've done for you, don't you see? One day you'll be a grand tourist attraction. They'll find you here. They'll know your name. They'll know I brought you here. They'll know our story, and then we'll be immortal, you and me. Pain's eyes sparkled. The passion caught in a flame, and that was the first time I understood her. You must be hurting just as much as I am, Pain. The last bubble in my throat smiled at their comrade. But Pain's eyes jumped open. Pain heard me. Pain couldn't believe what I'd just said. What did you just say? Her lips shivered. What did you just say? Her bones broke. Pain looked at me like I'd finally called her by her name. Pain's teeth began to crumble, melt away, tighten. It was a tsunami, a flood, an earthquake. Then the breaking cracked open into Pain's charade, cracked open into she'd been seen. Pain's tears shook the bed of the earth. Pain's scream shoveled a canyon inside the broken chest of the breaking, and I watched Pain slip into that canyon. A child going home, but she never let go of my hand. She was taking me down with her into her breaking, but the canyon was hers. There was no place for me there, and so it wringed off Pain's fingers off my wrist, shoved me loose, and shoved me back up to the rim of the breaking, and that was the last time I ever saw Pain. The wind, the light, the life, the second chance, they all fell all at once, all over my chest like a lightning strike. Look, Mama, an angel in the water, I heard a child say to her mother, then somewhere close. I was pulled back to the shore for the last time, then I was pulled back into Lost and Found. I was made to stand in the middle of a crowd, and they watched me. The crowd watched my body with eyes curious, fascinated, and I didn't know why, so I looked down. When I did, I saw My hands were in blood, they were rubies. My feet were in fire, they were diamonds. My body wasn't empty, it was solid crystal. My skin wasn't scarred, it was a designed masterpiece. And they watched me. The child ran to me, pulled me down to my knees, wiped my tears. "Don't cry," she said. It was then that I saw myself in her eyes, through her eyes, a reflection so foreign, so unknown. I wasn't me. And I wasn't someone I'd ever known. I wasn't Payne's friend. I was somebody else. I was anybody else. "Who are you?" The child asked me the toughest question I'd ever been asked. And it came to me then. Payne's prophecy, Payne's wish. "What's your name?" the child asked sweetly. I let the last tear hit the ground. Then I looked into her eyes and said, "The Grandiose."